Welcome to the Scoop World Order. It is Victory Sunday. The victory meal is wrapped up at the Woody Hayes for the team. They are on to Wisconsin. A war will be had at Camp Randall, a night game. Always a little sketchy, but they're down their starting quarterback. But the Hayes had a huge comeback versus Illinois. And Wisconsin generally isn't a team that's built to come from behind, so it was pretty shocking that they scored around 18 points in the fourth quarter to come back and stun the Illinois Fighting Illini. So we're going to get into all this. We're going to break down some film. And as always, we appreciate all of your comments. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. You'll be alerted every time we come on here live. We usually do it between the end of the 4 o'clock games, the NFL games, and Sunday Night Football. So if you guys are kind of timing it up in your head, this is about when we jump on for about 30 minutes and go through some of the notes, some of the stuff from the second rewatch, the prognostications for this upcoming week, a little health report, whatever we got. So as always, shout out where you guys are watching from. Let me know if you agree with our MVPs, disagree, and who are your MVPs on offense, defense, and special teams for this week. That being said, bring in my good friend Nevada Buck. Nevada, how are you today?
I am doing great. The Packers lost, but I actually bet against the Packers. Bet Denver today as an emotional hedge because I did not believe that the Packers were going to win, and they managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So Nevada Buck is wealthier, but the Packers have lost. So, but I'm okay. But I wanted to say before we get started, I thought that Ohio State naming Parker Fleming as kind of like the player of the game. Usually you name a player. But for them to name a coach as like the player of the game was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like it before.
Coach in waiting and also the new athletic director at Ohio State. So he's got all three titles: player of the week, coach in waiting, athletic director, and probably the board of trustees president. Congratulations. Great call. That's a good pickup by you, Nevada.
It was amazing. Like I said, when I saw it, I was just like, man, Ohio State, you are cutting edge, man. That was a good call. But all kidding aside, we've had some great threads breaking down the game. What a great game! If you get a chance to rewatch it, which I have, I've had a chance to rewatch it a couple of times. Some great things, some things that became obvious in the game. You know, when we passed on first down, we were really effective. When we didn't pass on first down, we were not very effective. And it's, that's really kind of the story of the game. I mean, in the first half, we averaged over 4 yards a carry on the ground. And as you can imagine, we ended up the game at 1.9 yards per carry on the ground. So whatever the math is on that for the game, you can say that we did in the second game. But it's because we kept running in these predictable situations. And Penn State knew that we were going to run, and they just sold it out. And we took it away from us. But when we passed on first down, man, Kyle McCord in the second half was 12 for 14. 12 for 14. I don't think people realize it. Kyle had a sneaky good game on a day where he clearly did not have his best stuff, where he was late with the ball, where he was behind guys, where he was high, where his feet were a little wonky. He still managed to throw for 206 yards and a touchdown. And, when you can do that without your best stuff, it's a really encouraging sign. Couldn't be proud of Kyle. I mean, Kyle's already got 2 great wins. I mean, at Notre Dame and over a Penn State team. I know everybody knows Penn State sucks now. Everybody's like, oh, Drew Allar's terrible.
That's Penn the best. That's my favorite. It's my favorite. It's always my favorite.
No, we all knew it. They just sucked. Oh, they're so bad. Like, dude, last week you guys were the national champion.
Oh, God. Scared to last week, everyone was scared to death. Scared to death of Penn State last week. Scared to death.
Yeah. I mean, people were talking about Drew Aller for the Heisman. And, like, did you watch that guy play? I mean, I'm not even sure he's going to be a barely adequate college quarterback. And, like, people were talking about him for the Heisman. And I'm just like, oh, man. But anyway, what a great win. Now, having said all that, we're 7-0. I'm not on an upset alert this week because Wisconsin's bad, but I'm telling you, I think it's going to be a ball game this week. And I've had a good handle on Ohio State all year. It's going to be a ball game. It's going to be a ball game. If you believe in the theory of letdowns, if you believe, that was an emotional game for Ohio State. That defense sold it out, man. They gave the entire defense the silver bullet of the week. And it was an emotional game. And what generally happens after really emotional games, man, you come out the next week flat as a pancake. I mean, that Iowa game, that debacle up in Iowa was after the Penn State game 2017, where everybody was crying on the field after we beat Penn State. And then we came back the next week and just were not good. It's got all the elements: night game, Luke Fickell, road game, Wisconsin that can run the ball, can do some things. So I'm wary. I'm thankfully their quarterback is hurt to the backup quarterback, and that's going to really limit their ability to. But I think this is going to be one of those games, and you always have them on your schedule, that those inexplicable games that you look at and you kind of go, man, where did this come from? How does this team hang in with us? I think this is one of those games, and I'm calling that right now. I hope to speak it out of existence by talking about it, but that's what I really feel, thinking about the game as we start getting ready to game prep. And I'm sure Ryan Day he'll warn all the guys, he'll talk to the guys, he'll say to the guys, but these are still young men that are coming off an emotional win like that. They went out for big parties on Saturday night, and everybody they're the toasts of Columbus. This week's going to be a battle, man. This week's going to be a battle.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think you said it perfectly. I think that this is where, Ryan Day, a guy like Ryan Day, earns his check on weeks like this, because this is one where the whole world is only worried about Michigan at this point, except for the Wisconsin Badgers, who Luke Fickell would sell one of his 18 kids into slavery to win this game. He would. I mean, this would set the course for Luke to be the prohibitive favorite to take Ryan Day's job at some point if Ryan ever leaves. But if Ryan hangs one on him, it flips the script. Now, when Ryan's gone against Luke in the past, I mean, he has absolutely waxed him. I think that they played in 19. I was at that game, and it was an absolute massacre. Now, granted, that wasn't, his good Cincinnati team. That was his last year that he was there. But that being said, man, I just think that Camp Randall's always tough. We went up there in 2012. We were undefeated. They were okay. It took us to overtime. And it's a lot like Penn State. Like, you talked a lot about last week how Penn State at Penn State is a different animal than Penn State at home. Like, we've dominated them in the horseshoe. I think they've beaten us. They beat us in that Battle 11 year and in 08. But, at Penn State, it's just a totally different animal. Camp Randall's kind of the same way. Kinnick is like that. There's some buildings that are just really difficult to win in when it's a good opponent. Like, now when Iowa stinks, it's one thing. But Wisconsin's usually upper crust of the Big Ten West, and their tailback is as good as there is in the nation. And I think we got to travel that defense. Like, thank God we've got an ultra competitive, ultra tough, ultra hungry defense right now. Cody Simon is coming on as a run stopper. He's playing like the guy that we thought he was going to be 2 years ago before he blew out both of his shoulders. And this is going to be a Cody Simon, Tom Eichenberg kind of game, because they're going to be beating Braylon Allen about 35 times in the hole to get him down on the ground. But, Camp Randall, the thing Ohio State always has to guard against, and you have to remember this, is for Ohio State, their Super Bowl every year is Michigan. Every year, that's our Super Bowl. For all of our opponents, their Super Bowl is Ohio. Like, Wisconsin's Super Bowl is playing Ohio State, and Penn State's Super Bowl is playing Ohio State, and Western Kentucky and Youngstown State and Purdue and Iowa and all these teams that we get these superhuman efforts, these miraculous efforts where these teams play out of their minds, out of their shoes. They're trying to go to the NFL, and all these kids know that want to go to the NFL. The one game that all these scouts are going to watch is the Ohio State game. They want to see how you did against Paris Johnson or DeJuan Jones or Marvin Harrison or CJ Stroud or whoever. So Wisconsin is going to bring the wood. And again, Ryan Day has got to pull out every stop known to God and man. He should do the Parcells thing, put mouse traps all over the locker room. Don't eat the cheese. It's probably going to get you. It's going to snap your neck in half like a mouse trap would. That's the kind of game this is. And, again, am I worried? Well, when they had Tanner Mordecai, their starting quarterback, 2 weeks ago, I was a lot more worried about this game than I am now that he's out. But still, funky things have happened. Again, that Penn State team that we beat in 17, that's the best Penn State team they've had since 94, when they had Saquon and McSorley, and they had a bunch of really good dudes on defense, good receivers. And we beat that team, and then we went out and lost to an Iowa team that basically had, they had an NFL quarterback, but they had Hawkinson and they had Fant, the two really good first-round tight ends. But, that team wasn't as good as that Penn State team. Nevada, as we close the door on Penn State, they turned the stadium off. Penn State's bus has left the locker room. It's all over. We got the dub. What are your final thoughts on the Penn State game? what needs to get fixed? It's funny. There's like always these people that they're like negative after one like this, and I'm like, guys, like we won. That's all I care about. Flush it down the toilet. You can worry about all the things you need to get fixed later, but all that matters in college football is winning. But tell me a little bit about your final thoughts from this Penn State game after a few rewatches.
Well, I just think that Ryan Day is kind of the tale of two Ryans, man. There's a good Ryan and a bad Ryan, and we got bad Ryan for most of the game yesterday. And I'm talking about it from a play calling perspective, and he just needs to call a fearless game, and let's just let the chips fall where they may. I mean, if we lose because he calls a fearless game, that's okay. But I think by it's kind of like playing the prevent defense. Sometimes people are like, hey, I want to be careful, so I want to play the prevent defense. And what your reality is you allow the other team, or like in hockey, I'm going to give a guy a lot of space. I'm going to back off because I don't want him to blow past me. And it's like, well, no, by creating that space, you're actually creating the opportunity for the other team. And I think for us as Ohio State, while I celebrated trestle ball and I thought he was a master at doing it, Ryan Day is not good at the trestle ball thing. And so when he hamstrings the offense and we play conservatively and predictably, man, we're bringing the game down to the other team's level, and I just think that we shouldn't do that. I think we should be like, I've got Marvin, I've got Carnell, I've got Brendan Ennis, I've got Cade Stover, I've got Trey Henderson, hopefully this week. If not Trey Henderson, any one of our other running backs. I'm better than you. I'm just going to score more than you are, and my defense will get stops, and that's how you have to play. And I understand, John, one of the greatest quotes of all time was John Cooper. He's like, Ohio State fans love to gamble, but they want to do it with my chips, And I understand it's easy for me to sit here and go, oh, yeah, Ryan, just go ahead and do it. But I just think we're better. We're better when we throw on first. We are a pass-first team. We have to accept that we're better at pass blocking. We're deeper at wide receiver. We're better with the pass running concepts. And that opens up the running game when we pass first. I think that's what we should do. It fits Kyle McCord perfectly as well. I think that's what we need to do. And I think if Ryan Day is willing to embrace that and just willing to go for it, then this game should be an easy one. But if he plays it close and that big horse Allen gets going there and they get a touchdown or a weird deflection off somebody and a tight end catches one for a score, or we have a big penalty or a fumble, I just have a feeling this game's going to be a close one. I just, I hate saying that. I've had a really good handle on Ohio State for 7 weeks. I mean, I've called just about every game pretty close. I just have a feeling, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope we go up there and beat them 69-0, and everybody just laughs at Nevada. It's like, oh, Nevada, you were so worried. I just am a little concerned, and I'm concerned that we're just going to be too careful, too conservative, too afraid. And I hope we get past that, because if we do, can be a big night for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be close. I don't like saying that, but I know human nature. I know how these teams are. I think that you've got as good of a feel on the team as I do. Plus, frankly, I've never played at Camp Randall, but I coached there. We missed them on the schedule when we were good in 05, 06. We probably would have waxed them up there. But 07, we played them down here and beat them. But we coached up there in 12, and it's a difference maker. There's a few stadiums in the Big Ten that are difference makers. I feel like the shoe was like that on Saturday. The shoe was loud. Drew Aller was rattled. That O-line was rattled. You could tell the communication wasn't as clean. We got a lot of pressure. Kudos to the fans that were in the stadium. They were loud. They weren't sitting on their hands or screaming and yelling. And again, that sounds cheesy and corny and stupid, but I've played in those environments, and it does make a huge difference when it's very loud. So thank you for doing that. But I just think that these guys I think they're on a mission, and I think that the thing that gives me a lot of confidence is our defense, because our defense has been so sound and they're playing so hard. And again, I think it's a combination of the 2 or 3 things. I think that knowing year 2 in the scheme that's not just hearsay, or that's not just some pablum. Like, that's a real thing. Once you're year 2 in a system, you've been in it through multiple springs, the season last year, bowl practice last year, all summer studying. You kind of have more chemistry with your coordinator when you're a guy like Tommy Eichenberg and you're getting the calls and you know the checks. You really know the defense cold as opposed to just kind of knowing the top layer of it. That is a huge deal. Like I remember just from my own personal experience, being a first-year starter at Ohio State versus a second year was a monstrous difference just in terms of comfort, reactionary speed, just everything. I think that we have a lot of guys back that are veteran. I think like the dumbest thing that people say in college is like, well, yeah, everybody's back from the defense. Now we lost a couple guys that frankly I didn't think were very good. A couple of our D tackles, a couple of our safeties. Don't need to name their names. You guys know who they are. And we've replaced them, frankly, with guys like Tyleek and Josh Proctor that are playing at All-American type levels. But I think that guys do grow year over year in college. You got to remember, these guys are still developing. They're still young guys. It's not like the NFL where guys are kind of in the middle of 25, 27, 28, they kind of tail off towards 30. In college, like you go from being 21 to 22 or 22, 23, like you make significant jumps in basically everything, speed, explosion, strength, all that. So these guys are playing at a higher level. And three, and most importantly, like our fans are unrelentingly, like unmercilessly brutal towards us when we lose. So these kids had to deal for 9 months with the Georgia game and the Michigan game, everywhere they went, everywhere their families went. And these guys got a lot of pride. They don't like being the weak link. They don't like being called bums. They don't like being told they're terrible because they have 84 points in 2 games. So that adds up. So there's a lot of motivation there to carry this team on their back. And guys like, Jack Sawyer and Tyleek and JT and Tommy and Steele, and these guys are, Denzel Burke, they're all playing to go to the league. And these guys are all playing at a really high level. So I love that going on the road because I think that, when you have to stop the run, because Wisconsin will, till the end of time, will be a run first outfit. I think that, bringing these guys on the bus is going to be a huge edge for Ohio State. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, I think the game, for me, what's going to be interesting and what gives me, obviously confidence. Obviously the fact is we're better than Wisconsin across the board. But I think the game is going to be about guys like Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson and Cody Simon and Jermaine Matthews. Because, you never know how excited the starters are going to be in a situation like this, or they're going to be let down or whatever it is. But backups are never going to be let down. The backups, anytime they get out there to play, they're going to be balling. And the good news about this Ohio State team is we're deep. And so you've got a lot of guys that are going to be very excited to get out there and get their action and do their thing. But, if you were going to draw, a blueprint on how you would attack this, this OSU defense is really, really, really good. But if you had to say, look to their one potential vulnerability, it'd be power running game. It'd be that Mike Hall's a little light on the inside. We've shown a little bit of vulnerability to direct power run. And what's Wisconsin going to do? Well, they're going to direct power runners. Now they also had Sam Hartman, who is dreamy to look at, and he had like 175 college starts or whatever it is. So they could balance that out with that quarterback play. And hopefully Ohio State learns some things from that. But I just think this is going to be a great challenge. I think you put it perfectly. Ryan Day gets paid an awful lot of money, but frankly, I think this game's a heck of a bigger challenge than Penn State was. I think Penn State, everybody was up for Penn State. The biggest game of the home game of the year. The crowd was there. The guys were there. The recruits, everybody's ready to play that one. Now, can you get them ready to play the next week at Camp Randall? That's the challenge. I think Ryan Day's up to the challenge, but it's going to be a big one. Whether it's the Barton's idea. Okay, so let's put down Barton's idea is don't eat the cheese. That's just okay. So we've got Ryan Day's theory is love conquers all. Kirk Barton's thing for the league is don't eat the cheese. And we'll have to think of Nevada Bucks slogan for the year. If you guys have got some ideas for slogans of the year, put them in the comment section and we'll pick some of the best ones so Nevada Buck can try to I'm going to try to go up against, if I can find a better one than don't eat the cheese.
It's literally Bill Parcells, but I guess I'll take credit for something that he did for 50 years. That's like his big thing that all of his assistant coaches use it too. I'm going to break down a field blitz because I like this. Let me switch my gear up real quick. I will
don't
not
eat the cheese. Don't eat the cheese.
Dude, I can't believe you've never heard that. You've never heard that?
Don't eat the cheese. I'm going to just keep saying don't eat the cheese. Don't eat the cheese.
Because you've never heard that before.
I'm just
you're not a big NFL guy. I guess you're
I'm a
not.
big I'm a big NFL guy. I never don't eat the cheese.
You've never heard that. I'll
Never
send you
heard
the
that.
articles about it. It's hilarious. That's like one of
Okay.
Parcells's big things.
Okay. Sure.
Field pressure. Oh yeah, like I'll go make up a bunch of New York Times articles about him doing it. So here, this is Sonny's sack. But again, I like when we blitz Sonny. I don't know why we don't blitz Sonny more because he seems to get home better than anybody we have because he's fast and he's just an explosive dude on these blitzes. So he gets home, and again he probably needs to hit the right gap, but I mean he doesn't really hit the right gap here, but he still ends up getting there just because he's such a good athlete. So he makes a little turn and it's almost kind of like a funny bait and switch because this is just a regular. We used to call this Alaska, where you have a guy go here, 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 and then you bring B gap, A gap, and then JT's got the C gap. But here it's kind of funny because it looks like they're both going in the C gap, and I don't know if that's the kind of draw him, but he releases in a route, so it's kind of a moot point. But I think that this is a misassignment by Sonny, but he still gets the sack. So I mean. But like this is the kind of stuff he needs to be doing, and then you drop your end into you drop your end, and this is a fire zone. But like we didn't do this much last year, but Sonny blitzing from the field is just something that I think needs to be a bigger part of what we do. In the game against Wisconsin, I think that he's a guy that shouldn't leave the field because I don't think we're going to be playing as much nickel against those guys. Now I could be dead wrong, and they might change everything they've ever done, but. I just feel like they're going to want to do what the smart teams have done against us is they've tried to run the ball and shorten the game. Just run it us. Again, you said the power running game, but that's kind of the deal. I got to show this rip by McCord. This is fantastic.
Well, no, now hold on. Just didn't Sonny get his first sack on kind of a similar type of thing where he kind of followed Eichenberg on the outside? So are they doing that on purpose or is that like a blown thing?
I don't think that is on purpose because it's not gap sound. Like you shouldn't put two guys in the C gap. So I mean, maybe that's some hocus pocus. It doesn't. It's just not sound defense, but it worked. So I mean, that's the funny thing about defense is sometimes you'll call something and someone will screw it up and it ends up being a sack, a 5-yard loss because it's when you're running pass protection schemes and you have running back and they're running back release there. It's like. You kind of know that generally everything should be gap sound because that's just how defense is played, like sound. Because if you do too much stuff that isn't sound from a gap perspective, you're going to give up 8,000 yards. Because eventually it's going to bust loose. This is a rip by McCord. This is like, I mean, he had some throws yesterday after rewatching it where he's just like gun. And I love this because this is to our boy 17 Carnell Tate. Shout out South Florida Express, right in front of JJ Smith, who's sitting literally right about that section of the field. But the pass pro is good here. Again, I like the motion. You see him rock and roll the safeties. This is great. So he goes back, he goes up. Every team in the universe does this. But this is a great pocket. Like, look at this pocket. And again, you're right. When you say that we're a passing first team, like we are. Like, I mean, our pass pro is great. Our run blocking leaves a lot to be desired. But I mean, this is these are men. These are real dudes. This isn't Youngstown State or Western Kentucky or Rhode Island or some of the teams we played to start the season. Like these are real dudes. And we hung in there. Now we benefited from Chop Robinson, who's their best player, getting hurt, but that's part of the game. Did you have any differences from they made Marvin Harrison the offensive player of the game, the whole defense was defensive player of the game, and then Jesse Mirco was the special teams player of the game. Do you agree with all of that?
Don't eat the cheese. I agree. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. I think I love that saying. I'm adopting it for my own. Don't eat the cheese.
But I honestly can't believe you're. I hope
after a 71-yard punt by Jesse Mirco, that was that he had to win it on that side. The defense all winning it, I thought was just like. Talk about a complete defensive effort. I know we talked about it yesterday, but I'm going to bring it up again. 1 for 16 on third down conversions. I mean, that just does not happen at any level of football. And for the fact that they did that in the biggest game of the year against the number 5, scoring offense in the country. I'm just really at awe, just in the rewatch, it's fun to watch it. You just see everybody making a play. It's safeties. It's Jordan Hancock looks like a man reborn this year. Jordan Hancock was barely playable last year. Barely. Looked a little lost out there, looked a little tentative, would run around. He had the athleticism, but it clearly the light had not gone on. And now you look at him and he's just been reborn hard, and he's just out there flying around, making plays, making tackles, blitzing on occasion, lockdown and coverage, super active. What a great job by the coaching staff getting them all together. That goes to all of it. That goes to Eliano. That goes to Walton, and clearly that goes to Knowles as well. But what a great job by the defense. And hey, we're gonna go as far. The Silver Bullets are back, baby, and they're gonna. We said it preseason. I said the defense was going to be the top unit, was going to carry us, and they're doing it, and it's just fun to watch.
All right, so we talk a lot about loser plays. We do that all the time, about like plays that have no chance of success. So this look actually has a chance of success. Their whole goal was to run behind their left tackle, who's a fantastic player, probably going to win he's going to be an Outland candidate. He'll be a first-team All-American, really good player. JT dog walked him a few times yesterday, but he's still he's easily the best left tackle in the Big Ten. So they motion in the slot, and we are in man coverage. So our boy, 41, Josh Proctor, who's playing like the best safety in America, follows him. So guess what? They motion him in. Josh follows him. And what happens? Oh, they run a short side play. And what do they do with this tight end? They're whamming back to our backside, a guy, which is, looks like it's David. Is that Davison? Or is that Sonny? Davison. Oh, fudge. Well, I mean, Davison, you guys all want to play football. Watch it with Davison. Davison takes this on the teeth. Jesus. So that ain't good for old Davey. But in the meantime, when you motion him in, Josh Proctor switches with him, and guess where he ends up? Right in the hole. So you get a 5-yard tackle for loss because you motion the safety literally right into where the hole is. The hole's right here. And you put 41, who's probably the best run-playing safety in America right now, right in the hole. So again, I don't know. There's nobody to block Josh Proctor because you're doing this. So again, that is the definition of a loser play, because our guys up front are all blocked up, but you bring Josh Proctor, who's playing like an absolute werewolf right now, into the hole, and I don't know what you're supposed to do. All right, we got a super chat. If you guys have super chats, if you guys have questions for us, super chats automatically are answered. So, Go Bucks. Crossing routes just exposed and obliterated Michigan's quote #1 D when Day ran them under Urban. Did Ryan completely change the offensive philosophy? That is an interesting question. I believe that it had more to do with Don Brown's defensive philosophy, and the fact that we had guys that were absolute burners like Terry McLaurin, Olave. He went off that game. Paris Campbell went crazy that game. When you're on crossing routes with guys that run 4.3 and high 4.2, then it's kind of game over. And we had for my money, the best throwing quarterback in Ohio State history in Dwayne Haskins, who absolutely torched the Wolverines that day. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Great question.
Oh, it's a great question. And it's, look, they practice that stuff all the time. And you saw in the biggest situation yesterday when they needed it most, I think it was that third down on the goal line for that, the TD that really put us ahead, for good. They ran it, and it was just so elegantly simple. The guys ran into each other. Marvin popped open out the other side. Kyle made a bad pass, kind of threw it behind him, and it walked in. But no, we've got to do it more. I mean, you talk about, receivers that can run. We have plenty of receivers on this field that can run, and plenty of guys to challenge them. And I just don't know if you're identifying that they're in man-to-man defense against you. Run those crossing routes. Run it. You're absolutely right. That was the biggest shellacking in the history of the stadium, in my opinion, considering the opponent, the quality of the opponent, the circumstance, and the fact that we hung 63 on them or whatever the heck it was. I think it's something that they practice every week. I know it's a primary part of the passing concepts. I hope we see more and more of it going forward, because I'm just not sure. It takes a really disciplined defense to hand guys like that off in the zone and be able to maintain that in your coverage. And we're getting a lot of man-to-man because teams want a man because they know that McCord will just pick them apart if they sit down in the zones. They're trying to go man. They're trying to get the pressure. They're trying to get in his face. Those crossing routes against man coverage, just killers.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree. And when you've got the hard part is when you play Ohio State, you got to play Mecca, Marvin, and Carnell. So you've got three guys that are all legit, all guys that can run. It's not like in the NFL where you've got like Devontae Adams, and on the other side you've got Hunter Wren, a guy you can just kind of one up or whatever, and you just double team the one guy. Like here, you've got to double team like two guys, which makes it almost impossible. Cody Simon is a guy who's really coming on. He's a 4-5 guy. I mean, a couple years ago, I thought he could be the next AJ Hawk. Then he blew out most of his shoulders. Didn't end up being to that level. Obviously AJ is, a difference maker, but when he was a young guy, he was the fastest linebacker we had by far. He's a powerful guy. He's starting to come back from a million injuries, and he's been a force. And when you run a slow developing play like this counter right here, pull guard, you put this tight end in a situation where he has to either take the end or if there's a blitzer, the blitzer. And, when Cody is fast enough to hit it from, he's literally hitting this from depth. Most of the time, guys have to cheat up to be able to get in and make an impact. He's hitting it from depth, which is because he can run a 4-5. Most guys that we have don't run 4. Most of our linebackers aren't 4-5 guys. He gets in here, you get the pull. This tight end is late. You see he's late because he's thinking he's got him. He's like, there's no way this guy's going to blitz from here without cheating at all. And he does. So this poor tight end, he's like, I think I got Jack Story. Oh, no. Oh, God. And then it's, this is a monstrous play on first down. Because when you make it 1st and 15, because when this quarterback is shook, and all of a sudden you make it 2nd and 15 because, your first play is a loss of 5. Because, they've got, if you look at it, these guys were blocked up. And we got a puller here. If he doesn't make this play, this has a chance. This guy's coming here. These guys are all blocked. He's blocked. If Cody doesn't make this play, this has a chance to go somewhere. But Cody's got that ability. He's got rare speed for his rare size speed ratio, strength, power, and he's playing like it. And again, that's why I say that this Wisconsin game is a Cody Simon game, because not many guys can make this play from depth. And just, again, that's a monster play. Because again, it's depressing when it's 2nd and 15. And when you hit those tackles for losses and those, a sack, a tackle for a loss, the stadium just explodes, and that's the thing is like, it just like, it electrifies the whole stadium because those guys, when you get those big splash plays, everybody loses their mind and goes nuts, which is good because it makes it tough on the opposing offensive line. Nevada, talk a little bit about Cody Simon and how would you rotate Steele, Tommy, Cody? Like, I think that they've got a nice rotation going. It seems like Tommy is just the Iron Man. He never leaves the field, but they're rotating Steele and Cody a little bit more. What are your thoughts on the splits there?
Yeah, no, I think they're doing a really good job of keeping those guys fresh. Like you said, Tommy's kind of the Iron Man, can kind of do a little bit of everything. But, they've been kind of, switching off. Cody's getting more and more of the snaps. But, look, I like even the 3 linebacker looks, and you may see some of those 3 linebacker looks against a team like Wisconsin that's running the ball. And, when you've got Sonny Styles in there, you've got some flexibility with that as well. So Ohio State's kind of a rare combination of that size. We've got speed. We can attack you so many different ways, defensively. And we got those lockdown corners that we've always known have always been the kind of the hallmark of a great Ohio State defense. Because when you have that, it just gives you the flexibility. You've got 4 that can get pressure. You've got guys that can lock down on the outside. And that just doesn't leave a lot of, we don't have to blitz to get pressure. We don't have to blitz to stop the run. And that puts Ohio State in a pretty good spot, in most games. And but again, a game like this is going to be a big challenge. So I think you might see some 3 linebacker looks, and that'll be fun because I like seeing Cody on the field more because I think he is one of the next great ones.
See, to me, just get rid of this formation. This is the dumbest formation we run, and I hate when we do it. So you bring in Luke. Luke's been standing there for 2 hours, hasn't done anything since warmups. Got G back here. You got Cade up here. And this is this is 3rd and goal. We need it. And, this is a tough block for Cade, but he's also laid off the ball because, again, the hardest part about when you're down here, this is in the closed end of the stadium. And, you see how this line kind of bows back. It's because they don't line up like this very often. They might do this 2 snaps a week during practice. So, our tackle is bowed back, and then Luke is bowed back, and then Cade is bowed back. So by definition, if the football is all the way up here and Cade is basically 2 yards behind it, he can't see the ball and let alone get off on the mark. So look how late he is off the ball. Ball snapped. he's barely out of his stance and everybody else is engaged. So by being late off the ball, because again, they're in the closed end, it's loud. He can't see the ball to get off on the mark. He can't hear the cadence at all. So he's late, and this guy can see the ball because he's looking right down the line because he's right on the line of scrimmage and his eye is right on the ball. Cade can't see the ball because of this. So he's late and he's right in the hole. So this thing has no chance. And then, Luke, again, this is not an indictment on Luke. I think it's stupid. You put Luke Montgomery in when he's been standing there for 3 hours. He warmed up, then he stands there. And then all of a sudden it's third quarter, third and goal. He hasn't done anything all day. And you're like, okay, we need to get this yard to win the game. You got to go in here. So he comes in here and gets smoked. Literally doesn't block anybody. Gets knocked over. And again, this is not an indictment on Luke, but don't put him out there when he hasn't played all day. Again,
Kirk, let me ask. You're the All-American right tackle.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that play, and I'm thinking that Luke's block should be, and just this is to my untrained eye, should be to the guy that came across Cade's face. That's to me looks like that's the obvious one, and that the fullback would take that linebacker that's going to fill the hole right there. Why is, and I'm sure I'm wrong on, obviously I'm wrong on that, but why isn't that the right play?
This is literally because they do this dumb play where it's like a full wedge block. It's basically like they're blocking like a quarterback sneak. They do everyone has their inside gap, head up, and then he just plows through to get whatever. I hate it. It's stupid. But Luke Montgomery is a really smart kid. He knows his plays. He only gets in for a couple plays a game. So everyone just wedge blocks. You see, because if you look at the left side, they're doing the same thing. Inside gap, head up, inside gap, inside gap, inside gap. Whoever's in your inside gap is who you're on. And then, Caden, who again, has been playing more, but he's not playing a lot either. And you put him in there and, he's not, again, he doesn't get live reps of fullback ever. So all of a sudden, he's got to play Penn State, who has great linebackers and great defense. And you're telling, okay, now you got to go lead block like you're one of our good fullbacks. Like Zach Bourne used to be fantastic at it. But Zach used to have inside run every Tuesday, and we'd be going against, great linebackers in practice. And he was really adapted and used to it. So, when you got to get in there, so you have two guys that barely play, and all of a sudden you throw them out there, and they don't do anything. And then, and obviously Cade's the guy that makes the play, and then you still have an unblocked corner there. So, I hate this formation. I wish they just put Marvin in and Emeka, because again, if you put like Marvin and Emeka and you spread all these guys out and make them have to go play coverage and put double team Marvin and Emeka, then you have a chance to run it, because it's not this stupid football on a phone booth thing, which is like what we love to do because we do things the dumbest way possible sometimes. But again, that is not Luke Montgomery's fault. And honestly, for Cade, it's just hard because you don't get the simulation of that formation. Because I guarantee you, when they script this formation in practice, they probably do it 2 or 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week. They probably walk through it on Friday, because that's not a standard formation. That's just something they like to do when they're in really, really short yardage, like they're down in the 1, 2, 3-ish yard line. They like to bring on Luke and bring on, go 3 tight ends and then bring in Caden Curry as like the fullback. And I don't like it because it just never works, And again, I know they scored on it earlier, but again, it's just, you could be a lot more proficient. And like I said, anytime you take Marvin off the field, it's like, if I'm Manny Diaz, I'm like, thank God they're taking the best, the 6'4", top 3 overall pick, guy that can jump 40 inches. And it would be literally the perfect guy in the universe to throw a fade to. We're going to have to double cover, or he's going to dunk on our heads. You take him off the field. So I don't get it. I saw another super chat, so I'm going to get into that real quick. This is another one. I really appreciate Jay Roddy, my man. Appreciate you. All right, Nevada. When the defense is stacking the box, is it better to throw a couple bombs to open up the run? Yes. I am a fan of bubble screens, but that probably doesn't work in a sack box unless they're blitzing. Nevada, you can open it up first, because last time I gave a diatribe. But your thoughts on this? Because I think he's going down right where you want to go.
Well, look, there's lots of things that you could do when they're doing that. We could run this. We could run a full screen game. We could run the swing pass. Let's just talk about the swing pass just for a second, because I just don't know how you defend that against our running backs. When you've got a quarterback that's pressing line, you've got a running back that's kind of flaring out into the flat. I just think that puts so much pressure on the defense, especially if they're stacking it up inside, especially if they're bringing the pressure. I think there's just ways that you can do it, to beat that. But it all goes back to that whole thing of being predicated upon being pass first. If we're pass first, we'll force teams out of this. We'll force teams out of trying to take away, putting us in this 2nd and 9, 2nd and 12. I mean, it's at the point right now where if we get 3 yards, I'm feeling good. It's only 2nd and 7. But we're doing offense the hardest way because we're always behind the sticks in terms of doing it. And I think the short passing game, I think the swing passing game, I think the screen passing game, I think deep shots, certainly with the guys that we have. A lot of times you'll just see the defensive backs are lined up 7, 8, 9 yards off of Marvin. So just throw it to him. Just pitch and catch to Marvin and let him go get that's a long handoff. Let him go get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards and just line it up on 2nd and 2. But I just think we've got to be pass first. I've always felt, I know for Ohio State fans, that's kind of crazy. It's like, I know we got to run the ball. We got to run to win up in Michigan. The rushing team has won the most games in the last 52 years up in Michigan. I get all that, but we're a pass first team, and that's what we're best at. Let's use it, pass to set up the run, then go take care of our business.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll do one more. We'll roll on out of here. This is the play. We talked about this. The punt, coming out right here. Not a lot needs to be said. Jaden's at the 50, about the 50. I mean, this is a windy day. The wind is blowing this way, so he's kicking it literally from the goal line. And
look where the ball hits.
No, I know it hits on the 50.
Why did he back?
Right,
why did he back up? Why did he back up?
I just have no earthly idea what he's doing. Because if he's not going to field it, like I said, he has to be screaming at these guys because these guys are trying to hold up because they're thinking he's returning it. So I mean, he's going to be screaming at these guys, and he's just kind of in outer space right now, and he's pointing a little bit, but Low Sal's Jr. doesn't know. I mean, he's sitting here trying to block for him. He doesn't know that he doesn't have the ball. Like their job, if you're not going to field it, you got to be screaming. But instead, he's running like he's going to hang out with the band. I mean, he got come up and get this thing.
You know what the worst thing about that play too was? Is that people all over America were screaming at Julian Fleming to hit with the ball too. Low Styles Jr. escaped because of that number 4.
That is the best part. People are probably mean tweeting Julian Fleming. Like, you suck,
exactly.
Julian.
You suck, Julian. You're the worst.
You're the worst. And I was out there and when you're there, you can tell, Low Styles Jr. isn't anywhere nearly as big as Julian Fleming. So it's you can tell the difference. And he was out there playing with Sonny because they were on the kickoff team together. But I mean, you can't blame him. I mean, he's trying to hold the guy. He's trying to do his job. And it's you got to, Jaden has to go field that one. He's got to be a little closer when it's it's a tornado and there's wind blowing the ball backwards and it's not going to go that far.
But Kirk, he was on the 50-yard line and the ball hit on the 50-yard line. That's what in the world? Just stand there. He literally, if he just didn't even move, the ball might have wedged in his face mask and just wedged in there or something like that.
Oh my God. I agree. And I lied. I said, we're going to do one more play because this is one of my favorite plays because this is another example of there are dumb offensive coordinators in the world. Mike Yursich, you're an idiot for running this scheme. So how do you want to get your quarterback killed? Well, okay. So here's JT, who's our, one of our, probably our best player on defense, might be our highest drafted guy on defense. He's, fantastic. Let's have our tight end come all the way from there at the snap of the ball to try to get this guy who is coming as fast as possible off the edge to kill the quarterback. In what universe do you possibly think, unless that's to Usain Bolt, he can get to JT Tuimoloau here? So I'm just I was watching that, I was because, when you're just watching kind of the whole play live, you're like, God, did he just beat their tackle who's really good? No. They wanted this poor tight end to come across and get this guy. And I'm you have no chance. That quarterback has no chance. I just, sometimes I just scratch my head. And again, like, I know I'm being like armchair quarterback guy or whatever, but I'm just like, you have no chance. Like, you're having your tight end come across and get JT, and JT's always to that left side against that left tackle, but I don't know. Well, we'll wrap this thing up, Nevada. Any final thoughts as we close the door on Penn State and we get into Wisconsin this week?
Really, the only one thing to say is don't eat the cheese.
Don't eat the cheese. I know.
Don't eat the cheese, man.
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. Are we going to see Trey Henderson this week, or is he going to be on bubble wrap until Michigan?
I'm out of the predicting the Trey Henderson.
I'm like, I literally think we're not going to see him until the Michigan game.
But let me just say, I sincerely mean, and you're talking to a guy who puts his money where his mouth is. So I bet on these games. I don't care who's hurt for Ohio State, unless it's Marvin Harrison or Kyle McCord. I don't care. When I heard,
I was like, it's Kyle McCord because we're down to linking keyholes now.
No, but I knew that there was a flu bug going through the team last week. I knew, Denzel's going to be out, Emeka's going to be out, Trey ended up being out. It didn't bother me one bit. It just didn't. There was not one moment where I was like, oh my gosh, Emeka's going to be out. That means we got to play Carnell Tate. What are we going to do? Denzel Burke's going to be out. Oh, that means Jermaine Matthews is going to get some burn. Oh, it just doesn't bother me. This is a terrifically talented group, and maybe that makes me weird, and I admit it, but I don't worry about that stuff. I hope Trey Henderson plays this week, but I just hope when he comes back that he's 100%, because we don't need another Jackson Smith and Jigba situation where a guy comes back in some stupid meaningless game and gets hurt, and then when we really need him, he's not there. So get better, Trey. Get 100%, and we'll see you out there. Don't eat the cheese, Trey.
And don't be like Bijan Robinson, who missed the game today because he had a headache without any warning on the injury report. That was the most amazing thing. He didn't play the entire game, and then he got to carry the second to last play of the game so they could set the field goal up, which is, I don't think I've ever seen anything more bizarre in NFL football. So with that being said, we'll wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys, as always, kicking it with us. Great show. Again, thank you for all of your kind words. Thank you for your great comments. Again, we love reading your comments. So if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like on your way out the door. Click subscribe and also click that little alert bell. It'll let you know when we are going live. We appreciate you guys as always. We're jumping on the message boards at BuckeyesCube.com. We have a ton of preview content for Wisconsin, a lot of recruiting stuff to get through too. So we appreciate you guys so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. I will see you guys on the message boards. Go Bucks.